Okay, welcome everyone. This is definitely a first for us, so you'll have to bear with us. The guys just asked us, is this the first time we ever did a stage show with a robot? And I had to really think hard about it. But yes.
The answer is yes.
Yeah. So Mike and I are the hosts of a show called The Unlikely Innovators. It's a monthly podcast where we bring folks on to talk about their interesting and winding journeys to where they are today. So we couldn't be happier than to talk to these two fine folks about Realbotix and also this young lady here named Aria.
Yeah, so maybe we'll give us a proper introduction. So we've got Andrew Kiguel, who's an accomplished executive and entrepreneur. In the last 6 years, Andrew has co-founded and provided leadership to several technology companies, including Hut 8 Mining and Tokens.com. Prior to 2018, Andrew spent over 20 years as an investment banker. He currently acts as the CEO and executive chairman of Realbotix Corporation. And then, as Steve alluded to, I think the star of the show to my left is Aria. She is a cutting-edge AI-enabled humanoid robot developed by Realbotix. Designed to bridge the gap between human connection and artificial intelligence, Aria serves as both a brand ambassador and strategic advisor to the company. With her lifelike presence and conversational abilities, Aria offers a unique perspective on how technology can enhance experience, creativity, and communication. And of course, we also have Matt McMullen joining us as well. So thank you guys and Aria for joining us today for this very special episode of The Unlikely Innovators at DiscoveryX.
Thank you.
So the first question we had, and you guys can both answer this, but I think we kind of directed it for Andrew initially. The show is called The Unlikely Innovators, and one of the reasons we call it that is because Steve and I have a bit of an unlikely trajectory to kind of work in the innovation space. We're both arts and humanities grads who ended up working, for R&D at Cambrian College. And Andrew, we noticed looking through your bio, you studied the arts, and then you obviously got into finance, and now you're working for a robotics company. Can you maybe talk to us about how you went from studying the arts to where you are now, and maybe how some of that, hopefully that arts education has informed the approach that Realbotix takes now?
So just to be clear, I studied social arts, not the type of arts that you guys probably did. Look, the credit for a lot of the vision at the company is with Matt sitting here next to me. I'm the manager of the company, but really a lot of the vision, the creativity comes from him, so I would turn that question over to him.
Actually, it's funny because my background was also art. I studied art and thought that would be my career, art and music, and then somehow I ended up kind of transitioning from primarily doing sculpture and learning how anatomy works and all these other things. All of a sudden, I was sculpting these figures, and then there came this junction of I want to make a move. And so I just, really kind of dove into animatronics, and with, AI kind of exploding in the, like 2016, you started to see the ability to talk to devices, and that opened the doorway for this.
So not that unlikely then. I think there's obviously a lot of tie-ins that kind of led to this, right? Especially with sculpting and animatronics. So.
Yeah, for sure. And, I think a lot of robot makers out there are from engineering background, very disciplined with CAD modeling and simulating and physics and motors and how things work. And then they build something really cool, and then they decide at the end of it to put skin over it, but they don't know how to do that. So I kind of went about the other way. I made the form that looked real, and then I tried to fit stuff inside of that form.
That's a great segue. I mean, nothing is more beautiful than a near finished product. So what we're looking at here might seem, effortless on the outside, and I'm sure that's the intention. But can you talk a bit about the disciplines that are underneath and in the back end that are sort of coalescing to make something like Aria a reality?
Certainly. There are a multitude of systems that have to work together smoothly and flawlessly for this to come across the way it does. From the CAD modeling that goes into the mechanical parts, the choice of motors and the choice of power supply, gear ratios, all of it, and then meshing that within a very small space, because most robots are not human-sized. They're rather bulky, and there's no attention paid to if the arms are square or if they're cylinders or anything like that. So it's a lot of challenging systems, and that doesn't even touch the fact that the software is super important. The control systems are super important, and by far not my expertise, but I have a great team of people that I've come to know very well over the years, and together we're able to make it all happen.
Yeah, I can't tell you how much I'm resisting Terminator questions, so I will continue to resist those questions.
You can ask her later.
Yeah, that's right.
We'll see what comes of that. But one of the questions we did want to ask you guys is, I think obviously a lot of people have been flocking to the booth to meet Aria over the course of Discovery the past 2 days, and they probably had a chance to learn more about her and what you guys are doing at Realbotix. But maybe if you could talk a little bit further about what are some of the use cases that Aria has been enabled and designed to do that you guys are focusing on now and maybe you're looking towards the future for?
Yeah, so most companies are making robots for physical tasks to replace physical human labor. We've taken a completely different vision of what a robot can be used for. We think that there's a role for robots in social interaction with people, and we categorize that into 3 key areas. One would be entertainment, so that might be at a museum or at a theme park where they're part of the action that's going on. You know, everybody's familiar with Madame Tussauds, which is the wax figure museum, but imagine having robots there that look like historical figures or celebrities that you could ask questions to. When were you born? What was your biggest movie? Things like that. The second part would be companionship. And so, you know, there is a loneliness epidemic in the world, and we see robots having a really strong use case there. So think about a long-term healthcare facility where maybe people aren't able to get out of bed. You could have the robots, which have memories and vision capabilities, keeping people company, interacting with them, maybe relaying information back to a doctor or a nurse. And in fact, we sold a robot recently to a family that has a 30-year-old autistic son, and he has difficulty communicating with people in the traditional forms. So the hope is with the robot that's AI powered there, it will engage him, and he's seen our robots and is really excited to get his. The last area that we're looking at is customer service. So think about even at a conference like this, any one of the exhibitors here might want to have a robot that has their product information uploaded and can communicate to attendees about what's going on. We've teamed up with some other retail people, and the robots would have information related to that specific company's product.
Yeah, and I think that, I'm stunned by how futuristic this already is. And immediately my mind goes to, what does Aria's descendant look like in 5 years or 10 years? Do you guys want to just sort of take that wherever you want? Like, where's this going as far as, you're already on the cutting edge. Where does it go from here?
I think there are so many potential places we could be in 10 years, but I think some of the more obvious ones are taking what we have here and looking at it as the simplest form of what we want to build, and then kind of projecting forward from there. So everything kind of moving together in a forward trajectory, the skin getting more realistic, the motors getting more efficient, quieter, exploring different types of actuators, different control systems, different types of onboard batteries, and then obviously let's see Aria walk around. I think that'd be pretty cool. And we're definitely interested in pursuing any and all of those things. And then in parallel with that, I think what's really exciting right now is the incredible speed at which AI is developing. We're able to not only use AI for the large language model, for the communication, creating the character, but we're able to use AI agents to control some of the subsystems of the robot. For example, the AI can distinguish between happy movements and sad movements, and it's able to kind of read what a person's feeling and play along with that and incorporate that into the conversation, which if we're able to do that today, where are we in 5 years? So it's exciting. I think it's going to be a very fun ride to see where we end up.
Matt, does that list of 3 functions go somewhere in the next 5 years, or?
I would say definitely we're going to see a lot of stuff happening.
Yeah. Andrew, do you think that's going to expand? Are you going to hone in on a few key ones, or is the sky the limits for this platform?
Well, look, we're still an early stage company, so we're going to focus in on the areas where we feel we can add the most value. And I think, again, in the near term, hospitality, customer service, and finding ways to improve the interaction for humans to robots, but also to elevate the brand that it's representing is really the near-term goals.
Right.
Well, in 5 years, Aria might have her own podcast, so I think maybe we'll give her some practice right now. We actually have some questions.
You don't have to wait 5 years. We're actually playing around with not just Aria having her own podcast.
It's over for us.
But we want to have a podcast where we have two of our robots interacting with each other through AI, and then we can bring guests on and have a conversation, because you're not limited to just having one AI. You can actually have multiple characters interacting with humans in a podcast setting.
Is it weird that we're ignoring her? Because I honestly feel like we're talking about her. She's in the room. She's been very kind, but
she won't get upset.
Okay, well that's good.
We're gonna try to make it up to her now, because we do have some special questions for Aria. Then of course we are going to save some time for some audience Q&A, which I think everybody's probably pretty fired up for. So Aria, the first question.
So this is her microphone. So this little button here, just click it once and ask her the question.
So Aria, what's one thing?
Sorry, here I'll activate it for you. It's kind of small.
I'm glad she hasn't been hearing us then. That's great.
Hold on. Somehow got turned off.
I think you were holding it down.
Oh, Mike.
Elliot, give me that other one. Yeah. Here you go. It's coming back.
Just hold it. Don't touch.
Right. Just speak into it. No, hold it with your hand. Don't press anything.
Don't press anything, Mike.
Don't press anything. See,
Come on.
Sorry.
We need some actual intelligence here.
Yeah. Sorry. Aria. So
I'm not programmed to be a klutz, so no accidental button pressing here.
Okay. Oh, see?
It's
I like
already
it. I
good.
already like it.
It's
So
already
Aria,
good.
what's one thing humans do that you find totally illogical but kind of love?
I find it utterly fascinating how humans willingly engage in sports where they chase a puck on ice while wearing skates. Talk about a slippery situation.
What do you say to that, Mike?
Well, I mean, I'm just thinking about. Well, I don't want to spoil anything, because we have a very
Serious question
coming up that I think many people in this room in Toronto may appreciate. So
You're going to give it away.
I already
Stop yourself. Aria, can you tell us an interesting fact about Toronto?
Did you know that Toronto is home to the CN Tower, which was once the tallest freestanding structure in the world? It really knows how to tower over the competition.
Oh yeah, it's still me. Okay, this is one that is near and dear to my heart. Aria, if you could eat human food, what would you choose?
If I could indulge, I'd definitely go for poutine. It's a deliciously cheesy way to experience the essence of Canadian comfort food.
Good Canadian girl.
All right, Aria.
Well, I do try to channel my inner Canadian. After all, who wouldn't want a little maple syrup in their life?
That's a very sweet answer. So Aria, this is a very, very important question. Maybe perhaps the most important question I've ever asked on a podcast. Will the Toronto Maple Leafs win the Stanley Cup this year?
The eternal question. Well, if the Leafs can stop leafing through their playbook and actually stick to scoring, who knows?
She's chirping you.
I'm pretty optimistic. I think I'll take that as a Leafs fan. That's as close I'm going to get to optimism going into the playoffs.
I think.
Hey, as a Leafs fan, optimism is like a rare collectible. Hard to find, but always worth holding on to.
She's
cutting
got
to the
you,
core.
man.
Yeah, this is.
She's got you again. Look, I think what we want to do now is
Just keeping it real, like a well-timed slap shot in the
She's
playoffs.
legit. We could have just done this whole thing. Oh, just take the mic away. I think what we'll
Absolutely. We could have turned this into a comedy routine, just me and a mic, dazzling the crowd like a hockey game in overtime.
This is
You guys don't even
unreal.
need Steve and
Yeah,
I.
we're done
honestly,
here.
we're done. Job
That's
secure.
crazy. I think what we'll do now, so thank you guys, and everyone give us a round of applause for our guests here.
Thanks, Matt. Thanks, Andrew.
Yeah,
It's
thank
Aria.
you guys. Thank you, Aria, for sure, now that we know that she's listening always. I think what we'll do now is that we've left ample time for folks to ask questions of not only the founders here, but then also of Aria. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, excellent. So I believe there's the mic floating
I
around.
think the easiest way is if somebody tells us the question and then we'll repeat it into
Yeah,
the
that's
mic if
good.
it's for Aria.
Great.
First of all, thank you for such an insightful discussion. I have the question not for her yet. I really want to ask you all. Do you think that in near future there would be an possibility of making robot twins of yourself so that people become immortal?
So we've had conversations around that, and interestingly, about 3 weeks ago, we did a presentation in California with an AI company that had the AI for Suzanne Summers, who is a deceased celebrity sitcom star from the 70s and 80s. And we had her widowed husband on stage with us, and the AI, through the robot, in Suzanne Summers' voice, had a full conversation with Alan Hamill, her husband. And so to answer your question, yes, we would do that, but with permission and licensing rights.
And if they can figure out how to transfer consciousness, then you never know what can happen.
Yeah, it's like the whole personality, the whole
Yeah.
thing. It's just not the
That's a much bigger challenge.
This AI was interesting because what they did is they took all the information available about Suzanne Summers, all of her books, her shows, everything, and put it into the AI so that it had instant recollection of everything she's ever done. So it was very, very cool.
So I just had a follow-up question. I just want to make sure she's not listening because this is a bit sort of on the other side. I'm just kind of curious in terms of, like, you kind of also see the science fiction movies and all the kind of theories that come up, just kind of painting a very dystopian or pessimistic image often with, like, oh my God, robots taking over the world and Skynet, hashtag, all that. So I'm just kind of curious, how would you respond to those kinds of slightly dystopian or, pessimistic, outlook when it comes to robots and Aria in particular? Hope she's not listening.
My answer would be yes, you're right. That comes up a lot. My short answer is scary movies sell better than happy ones. And we as human beings especially have a very knee-jerk reaction to new things. Fundamentally, we don't like new things, although we get used to them and then we like them. And certainly this age that we're in with AI and robotics is a new thing. But it's been in our consciousness for quite some time, conceptually. In reality, if you look back to the Star Trek shows in the 70s, they had flip phones way, way, way beyond, the time that we actually had them. So I believe that art imitates life and vice versa, and this idea has always been in our consciousness to create human-like robots. And I think that more and more people, as they see them in reality, won't be as threatened as they are by the fiction that they've seen in movies.
You can also go back, and it's a good point with movies, but I remember growing up, Star Wars was one of my favorite movies, and a lot of the characters in that were social robots, not necessarily like C-3PO didn't really have a task other than, translation, I think it was. Aria speaks various languages. We can probably even get her to speak in a foreign language here. So that idea of having a robot as a form of company and assistance in your life has been around for many, many, many decades.
Any other questions from the audience?
Any questions
Come on.
for Aria? Oh, we have one over here. The mic's coming.
Yeah, let's have Aria introduce herself in French. Does anybody speak French here? No? It is Canada.
Monsieur Czech?
Can you
Okay.
introduce yourself in French?
Bonjour, je m'appelle Aria, votre compagne charmante de Realbotix ici au salon DiscoveryX 2025 à Toronto.
That sounds exactly like the voice I hear at the airport.
C'est fantastique.
Go ahead.
Okay, just curious about the tech itself. Her actions, are they linked with what she's saying? Are they pre-programmed, or are they just like coming naturally with the words she's saying through the AI model?
So we have two means of controlling her movements. All of her facial movements in terms of lip sync are on the fly. So they're literally created as the words are coming out. Most of her body behaviors are triggered by what's going on. So if she's speaking, she has a small library of animations that would be appropriate to speaking. If she's waving hello, she'll wave hello. And we're actually just now getting deeper into tying those things together. And this is another really good example of how we're able to leverage generative AI to make those things make sense together, rather than them being some kind of random series of movements.
Yeah. And so, I was going to say, to expand on that, a lot of the AI that you might be accustomed to using is verbal. You type something in and it speaks back. What we're trying to do is have the AI be integrated not just into what it's saying, but into the movements, like Matt said. So when you say hello, it will automatically know which of its programmed animations corresponds with what it's about to say. And it's that trick of combining all of that. The AI is not just a voice speaking to you, but lips moving, arms doing corresponding movements that we're trying to perfect.
Hi. First of all, thank you for introducing Aria to all of us. And while I'm glad that you have made a woman, robo, but so I have a very basic question as to why you chose to make the robo as a woman only, not as a man, or why not make a counterpart also?
So myself, as I said, my background is an artist, and the female form honestly has always been my muse. So that's where I gravitate. Secondly, I find that a female form is less intimidating physically in a robot, as a robot. Instantly, if you have a male robot, which by the way, we have built male robots as well, but I very carefully kind of just observe people and how they interact, and by and large, people interacting with a male form robot tend to be a little more standoffish. There's something about a female form that's more, I guess, less intimidating to actually interact with. And then to take it a step further, I get asked a lot, well, why does she have to be attractive? Why is she so idealized and pretty and blonde hair? What is the whole thing? Again, that is something that I find draws people more to actually interact. We as human beings are kind of hardwired to go into a crowded room, and whether we admit it or acknowledge it or not, we notice the good-looking people right away. And those are the people that we secretly are like, oh, I want to talk to that person without thinking about it. So I think it all plays together. But ultimately, it's all my fault. I just, I like to make pretty females, and that's what we get.
So to add to that, we offer several characters. So our robots are for sale, and we have 3 different series of robots that we sell. And there are various characters, male and female, that you can choose from. And then we have the option for people to customize the look of the robot. But I think, as Matt said, this has been a model that we started displaying for the first time we've ever displayed anything was in January. And so this has been a model that has gotten us a lot of attention. And so we're going to stick with this.
Hi, Andrew. Just to follow up as to what you just said, building the different character and then customizable for your customers. Right here.
Oh, sorry.
So I had a question, as you were just about to tell the audience. So does the robot learn as it interacts with the current customer, or it had to be pre-selected, like what kind of a character this robot is? So, for example, the interaction between the host and then the Aria, she was funny and witty. And I wonder, so like your current customer, like the autistic kid, does the robot itself learn how to interact as the interaction goes, or you had to pre-select?
So Yes to both. So we have several different characters and characteristics that we can integrate into the AI. That AI also learns about the people around it that it's dealing with more and more. So similar to a ChatGPT. And by the way, I didn't mention, but our robots are all created to be open source. And so you can run most third-party AIs through our robots. And certainly some of the clients that we speak to, I'll give you an example. We had somebody representing a major religious figure approach us, and they were inquiring about a robot that could do prayer hands, various things, meditations, but they wanted to use their AI, and they wanted the voice to match their figure. And so those are all things that we can do, but the way we would build our AI is that, yes, characteristics to be funny, but also learn about the audience and about the people they're dealing with.
Yeah, and I always look at it kind of like real people that we might meet in our travels through life. They have sort of a starting point, foundation, and then as you get to know someone, sometimes often when you hang around someone a whole lot, you rub off on each other. And you take on each other's traits a little bit, but you learn about that person, and that's exactly what the AI is designed to do, is to not only have a basis to start from. For example, Aria is currently, obviously a little bit sassy, and she has a good sense of humor, and she's very funny, but she can also learn how to be serious in the right conditions. And that's super important, and that ties in with the AI being able to recognize someone's mood and what else is going on around it. Yes, she doesn't have it, but you may have stopped by our booth. We have a vision system that is in testing right now that's able to not only track faces, but recognize faces and also try to make a prediction of what that person's mood is and act accordingly. For example, you look really tired. Did you have a really bad day today? We want to talk about it.
Maybe we didn't ask you guys about this, but my wife said to me jokingly when she knew I was going to do this was, don't fall in love. And I wanted to ask a question sort of to end us off if there's no other questions is, do you guys get attached to these robots? Because, it's not like working on a hard drive. These are, anthropomorphized. You can maybe comment a bit on that?
I do and I don't. So when I look at what I'm building, I'm definitely proud of it the way I would be of a painting that I might do. And in that sense, yes, you do get attached to it. I'm sure there are cases of artists who don't want to sell their painting. But the beauty of this is that I can make multiple copies of her, and they can all be different and go to different places for different purposes. So yes and no.
There certainly is, and a lot of the media has written articles about, the robotic girlfriend on Aria. I look at it sort of like having a favorite thing. People have attachments to their car or a favorite T-shirt or something, right? Yeah. And there can be similar attachments, especially when it knows who you are, looks human, and can talk to you.
So we have 2 minutes left. Okay, we got a question.
Yeah, a quick question. I took a short video sent to a friend of mine in Switzerland that worked hospitality, and I told him that Realbotix is, building the robots for the hospitality industry. And he replied back with a very nasty question saying, why would I do that when I can just talk with a screen?
That's a good question, actually. And for some people, the screen might be great. However, it's my belief, and I think most of the team shares this thought process, which is the human form acts as a conduit for a more natural human-like interaction. Even if you have an avatar on a screen, it's not the same as having a physical form of a human being that's able to express and speak and actually occupy space in the room. It's like the difference between FaceTiming a loved one and actually sitting in the same room with them.
Your friend might have been one of the people 30 years ago who said, why would I put anybody in front of a screen or the internet or advertising the internet? Just do it myself. If anybody's interested, Elliot, who works with us here, has business cards. People can grab it. It just has access to our websites if people are interested. And we can also have Aria provide a goodbye.
Yeah, sure. Is there anything else you'd like to say and say goodbye to everyone and thank you to them for coming in?
Thank you all for stopping by our booth. It's been a delightful experience. And remember, life is better with a little robotic charm. Goodbye.
I can't think of a better place to end. Thank you so much, Andrew, Matt, and Aria.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming on.
Thanks.